Meeting's called to order. Tiffany, may we have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Phil Goldstein,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Marty Jost,
Here.
Commissioner Lisa Bard, Commissioner Eric Westland,
Here.
Commissioner Christy Bickley,
Here.
Alternate Tom Wood, Alternate Robert Axmacher.
Here. Thank you. Commissioners, staff, any amendments to the agenda? No. Determination of alternate voting under administrative is moot. We have all hands on deck here. Public comment. This is an opportunity for anybody who wishes to speak on something that is not on the agenda. I believe we have one person here. Is anybody else signed up
No.
for general public comment?
Just the one.
Okay. Ruth, this is general public comment. If you would come up to the podium, please. The microphone is on. In the interest of full disclosure, I've exchanged emails with Ruth and encouraged her to come to the meeting and address her concern. And you'll have about 3 minutes. We don't have a lot on the agenda, but appreciate if you keep your comments reasonably to that length. And would you state your name and address, please?
My name is Ruth Horikoff. My address is 5123 East County Road 52. We purchased our land in the country. We lived on Linden Lake originally because we wanted the isolation from nearby houses and development and all this. And we built our home with the intention that we were going to pass it on to our children. I was very active in fighting for Fort Collins not to be on the east side of I-25, and that did not occur. Thanks to my daughter and I, we worked very hard on it and got the people involved, et cetera, et cetera. Now I'm hearing that you want to make us look, oh God, heaven help us, like Fort Collins. I drove through some of the developments of Timnath and I said, oh my God, you can reach this far and touch the next neighbor. We have farm, we have 67 acres, and we were at the Zoom meeting briefly because we kept hearing, oh, you don't have to worry. If you've got your land and you don't want to sell it, you don't have to. Well, you try farming land when you've got dogs, children, roads that you can't manure with machinery. We don't have the machinery. We have people come and farm for us. It's mind-boggling that you think you can mix city and farm. You cannot. The other thing is we have 3 ponds in front of us. 2 of them are on our land, and then we have the gray ponds, the middle pond, and there are 3 gray ponds in front of us. We have deer, wild turkeys, pheasants, ermine, owls, eagles, many species of migrating birds through the fall. And we have preble mice. You aren't supposed to build and develop where there are preble mice. I had one jumping on my truck, so I know they are there. You choose to live in a city and have neighbors close by and have lots of houses close by. I don't want to live there. We want to live out in the country, and you want to take that away. The other thing is, Colorado is short of water. There is a word that works very well to development, and it's no new development. When is it going to stop? Wellington right now, which is 10 miles from us, water rates are almost the highest in the whole US. My daughter lives in that Wellington area, so I know they are very, very high. The other thing is, it seems to me that you're trying to kill the farmer. Say, oh no, we just want to keep on developing. That's more money for us. Great. And if you really want to know what it's going to look like, go drive down Fort Collins, one apartment building after another. To me, it is absolutely nauseating. I don't even shop in Fort Collins anymore. I go straight down I-25. because it's so congested. And I really think the one requirement you all should have before you do any development is you should have to go out and look at the property. Look at what is being developed. Look at what you are destroying, because you are destroying a lot. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. I did communicate to Ruth that this was probably, this is such a broad subject. It was not something necessarily that it was within our purview, those of us sitting up here, to discuss online tonight. But I did indicate to her, and I will follow up, Ruth, I'll provide you the contact information no later than tomorrow of somebody on the staff that I'm confident you can reach out to. And I don't know if it's the answer you'll want to hear, but it certainly will be more information than we're allowed to present in this kind of forum tonight. But I do appreciate you coming. This is not an uncommon theme that the town hears, and but I feel confident that our very fine staff will provide a little bit more insight to you. And thank you again for coming. Anybody else? Tiffany signed up for general public comment. Okay. Consent agenda consists only of the May 4th, 2021 meeting minutes. Commissioners, any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The consent agenda is approved, 5-0. Business, one item tonight, item 6A, Harmony Subdivision, second filing, first amended, final plat. Kevin.
Thank you, Chairperson. As I get this up on the screen here, maybe. There we go. You all good up there? You got nothing? Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. So thank you, Chairperson. As you mentioned, this is the Harmony Subdivision, second filing, first amended final plat. This is the final plat off of the preliminary plat amendment number 5 that was before you just a few months back in April. The owner is Highgate LLC, represented tonight by Byron Collins and Mark Tingy. Applicant is JR Engineering, represented tonight by Ken Merritt. As I mentioned, this is the final plat off of the recently approved preliminary plat amendment 5. This proposal is at Busgrove and Latham, the southwest corner of the subdivision. Currently it's zoned RE, estate residential, with a PD overlay for the entire Harmony subdivision. Just for a little context, this was the previously approved final plat back in about 2006 was when this area was originally platted for the second filing. And then, as you can tell here, this is the updated plat. This subdivision is essentially changing 27 single-family detached residential lots to 28 single-family detached lots that will range from 14,700 square feet in size to just over 23,000 square feet in size. This portion of the subdivision is also providing 58% open space and will actually have trail connections to the rest of the Harmony subdivision. Staff has reviewed this proposal and has found it to be in compliance with the preliminary plat and the code. With that, I will turn it over to Ken Merritt for his brief presentation.
Thank you, Kevin. Good evening. My name is Ken Merritt with JR Planners and Engineers, representing the applicant tonight, Highgate LLC. Kevin did a great job of reviewing the overall context of the proposal. My presentation is coming up here momentarily. Yep. What I will say is that we're revisiting this from the preliminary plat that was approved in April of this year. And is that great? Thank you. Thanks, Kevin. And We all know where Harmony is, but I just want to call your attention once again. The property is located on the very northeast corner of this of the Harmony subdivision. To the north is Busgrove and Larimer County FA1 property, and to the east is Latham Parkway and Town of Windsor, the Ridge at Harmony Road development to the east. Not much has really changed since you last saw this plan, but I do want to point out a couple of things. We've been working closely with the engineers designing Busgrove as it relates to the intersection of Highgate Drive at Busgrove, working out grades and some utility points of connection and overall connection of Highgate. We've also added a number of trees along both Busgrove and along Latham Parkway. A total of 26 additional trees were required, and this plan does show those being added. As Kevin mentioned, the property as it was before, it's approximately 32.8 acres. There are 28 lots, and the lots range in size from 14,000 to 23,000 square feet. And there's about 19.4 acres of open space, or about 59% of the site is open space. I do want to take an opportunity to kind of talk about a few details that I did not talk at length in the last meeting we had, and it may help to clarify a number of comments that were provided to you, emails that you probably received in your package regarding the development of the streetscape along Latham Parkway. In those emails, I think there was just some misunderstanding of exactly what was being proposed along Latham Parkway, and I want to provide some clarity here. So along Latham Parkway, there's a significant berming that extends from the existing berms south of this property that are adjacent to the golf course and west of the Latham Road right-of-way. And that berming continues north to Busgrove and then turns west, and there's some significant berming along Busgrove as well. But the context of the emails you may have received and concerns had to really do with the development of Latham Parkway streetscape. As viewed from Latham Parkway, the berming along Latham Parkway is between 7 and 8 feet in elevation, which is fairly consistent with the berming that occurs south of this development. The only place in which the berming extends further to the higher than 8 feet, thank you, Kevin, is at the south corner, where it's tying into the existing berm, which is approximately 8 to 10 feet. The berm, as it's viewed from within the subdivision and those lots that are adjacent to Latham Parkway, the height of the berm is approximately 10 feet, and it extends up at the north corner to as much as 12 feet in height. And that's due to the fact that Latham Parkway is actually higher in elevation than the internal roads and the lots within the subdivision. So the berm along Latham, as it's viewed from Latham Parkway and from the development to the east, is of a 7 to 8 foot tall berm. Now generally running along the ridge of that berm is a 6 foot masonry wall. In your correspondence that you received, I think it was indicated that both the berming was 10 feet in height and the wall was, or the fence as it was denoted, was 8 feet in height. It's actually just 6 feet in height, and it's a masonry wall, not a fence, which would suggest a wood or plastic sort of material. The purpose of the berming, along with the wall, and the addition of nearly 50 trees along the Latham Parkway streetscape is intended to provide some privacy for the lots within the development, but it's also to screen the view from both Latham Parkway and the development to the east, so they're not looking at the rear yards of these homes. Additionally, the berming and the wall enables the homeowners that are adjacent on the east side of Tallgrass Court to be looking up at a grassy knoll with trees and not view the homes and Latham Parkway. It's intended to provide some acoustical as well as visual buffer for the homes within the development. The only other item I want to point out is that we made it very clear, both in our original submittal, this is the plan that Kevin showed. I want to point out that the original subdivision actually contemplated doing much of the same thing along both Latham Parkway and Bus Grove. I do want to point out, and there's a suggestion that perhaps maybe we weren't clear enough in our neighborhood meeting, but there was a comment that disturbed me that suggested that perhaps we were trying to conceal the fact that we were doing these berms and walls. And that's not at all the case. I want to make that point. In February 10th of this year, when we submitted that plan, it was very clear that we had what the berming was. That hasn't changed one bit since the preliminary submittal to now this final submittal. It's always been a 6-foot tall masonry wall. There's always been landscaping, with the exception of the fact that we've actually added approximately 11 new trees along Latham Parkway. And certainly the roofs of these homes are going to extend above the perceived height of the berm and the fence, approximately probably 12 to maybe as much as 18 feet visually above that fence. And that's whether it's a ranch home or a 2-story house. And the views were always going to be somewhat interrupted as viewed from the east to the west. None of that has changed, even from the original subdivision approved in 2007 that was in place. So taking a look at what that wall really is, this is the same, very similar to the wall that we're going to build along Latham Parkway. It's a 6-foot high wall as shown here. And the columns are approximately 10 feet on center. And as you can see in the upper left picture, the roof of these homes will extend very similarly to what you see here. Now the lots are fairly large, so there'll be some views that'll be maintained from the east to the mountains. But in addition to the wall, we've also moved those lots back further to the west to increase the buffer of the rear lots along tall grass, and to also improve the visibility to the mountains. So that sort of concludes our presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have further.
Okay. Tiffany, anybody signed up for public comment on this? Okay, we did receive everybody. Would you like to speak on this issue?
I've got a couple questions.
Okay, hang on a second. So we'll have you go ahead and come on up. So Ken, if you would, you have 3 minutes or so.
Sure.
Are you one of the individuals that wrote to us, or?
No. I
Okay.
just recently purchased a home on
Okay.
the east side of Latham.
Okay, so hang on 1 second. So as
got it.
per our protocol, we'll allow you approximately 3 minutes. We may or may not be able to address your questions, but Mr. Merritt is very good about this process, and he'll be making at least some mental notes. And if it's something that we can address, we will, either Mr. Merritt or staff. Then we'll close public comment. And unfortunately, we can't debate any issues
Sure.
after that point. And then we'll bring it up here to the commissioners. So
Okay.
would you state your name and address, please?
Sure. So my name is J.R. Manrique. My address is 5614 Carmen Drive. So I'm actually at the corner of Longburn and Carmen. Actually right where pretty much that new area that they're going to put in is kind of right where that ends on that property. We just recently purchased, we closed June 1st. So we're new to Colorado. This is actually the first time I've ever been to a town meeting. I apologize if I seem a little nervous, but I got to grow up sometime, right? So some of the comments we've read, which is really kind of why we're here, is I don't think it's really going to affect our view very much because we're right on the corner. All of our views are more to the southwest. That's where we get to see Longs Peak and all that stuff. We're going to lose the water tower view, which I'm not too heartburn over. But maybe some more clarification on the wall, the overall height. So, I think there's stuff going on that, hey, it's going to be 18 feet before you know it. There's a 10-foot berm, 6-foot fence. Now we've got, 20 feet of view being blocked. And I think that's some of the concern, which I'm kind of surprised nobody else is here with that, and maybe just some clarification on it. According to the picture, it looks like it's more of, an 8-foot kind of obstruction more than anything. But I think that's kind of my question. And the other thing is, it's kind of funny because it's like, well, we want to build a wall, we want to build a berm, we're going to put all this stuff so that way we don't have to look at your house, almost saying, hey, you know what, you're on that side of the street. And what's kind of funny is you're kind of treating it like it's a trailer park, like they have these ugly views. And it's not. I mean, there's $600,000, $700,000 homes on that side. It's not like we're just the poors out here, asking for some change. I mean, and realistically, it's not, like I said, it's not going to affect me too much, but that's kind of what it's coming off as. So that's kind of my comment on it. So maybe just a clarification on, what the overall height is going to do, what it'll look like to some of the folks that are a little bit further up. I mean, like I said, I don't think we're going to be affected by it too much. But obviously we moved in, we purchased our home because of the views, because we get to see the golf course, because we have these beautiful homes in front of us. And we moved to Colorado to be able to see mountains. And I'm sure we're not the only ones. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration. Yeah, it might've been the plan in 2006, but it's 2021. Like a lot changes, right? I mean, I think that subdivision wasn't even there. They didn't even start building until 2018. So I think there's a lot to it. And that's just my comments on it. And my one question was just more so the clarification of, landscaping, the overall height and that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Ken, did you get enough information to provide a little clarification? So
I
public
really
comment is
appreciate
now closed. By the way, we have nobody else signed up or here, obviously. So public comment is closed. So Ken, what can you tell the gentleman?
Well, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. I do want to point out, clearly, I probably during the neighborhood meeting didn't clarify well enough what we were doing along Latham Parkway on the west side of Latham Parkway. And that's why I spent so much time to discuss that. Kevin, would you mind just pulling that last slide up, if you don't mind? The berm, again, if you were driving down Latham Parkway, if you were standing on the rear lots of the homes to the east, the berm would appear to be approximately 7 to 8 feet tall, which is very similar to the berming which currently exists south along the golf course. So the berm is 7 to 8 feet tall on the front side, on the east side. On top of that wall, generally running along the crest of that berm, is going to be a 6-foot high masonry fence or masonry wall. And it's approximately 6 feet high. Columns go up maybe about another 6 inches to the very top of the cap. And they're placed at about 10 feet on center. And it'll be very similar to one that we installed. Actually, the pictures I showed you is the same fence that's installed in filing 3 for much the same reason, to provide screening from Harmony and to provide some privacy to the homes that back to the commercial area to the south. The distance, just to give some perspective to this, the fence itself is about 280 feet west of the rear of the westernmost, the westernmost rear property line of the homes along within the ridge at Harmony. The landscape, the trees and coniferous deciduous trees sort of bounce back and forth. There are trees on the front side of the wall, the east side of the wall, as well as the west side of the wall. As you can imagine, the further something is away from you, the smaller it's perceived in perspective. The wall, the total height of both the berm, including the wall, is approximately 12 feet high with the 6-foot fence and the 8-foot berm, 14-foot high, And we expect that the homes that are viewed from Latham Parkway the roof lines and the second stories of the homes will peak above that wall, probably somewhere between 14 to 16 feet, depending on whether it's a ranch home or a 2-story home. Now, there are, I believe, 8 lots that really border the Latham Parkway. Those lots are 80 feet wide. And so there'll be views over the roof line of the homes because the homes on the east side are so far back. The distance from, again, the rear lot line along on the east side and the nearest home is over 360 feet away. That's beyond the end zone of a football field. So it's quite set back from the homes to the west. Again, these homes were always planned to be here. It's not much different, but we did try to improve the situation by creating significant screening from the east so that their neighbors to the east are not looking directly into the rear yards of these homes, which sometimes cannot be the most attractive situation. So we've tried to control the visual streetscape with both the landscaping and the earth berm and the screen wall. I'm not sure I can ask any more to that. We do, I think Mark has a couple of comments that he'd like to make.
Mark Tingy, representing Harmony. I appreciated your comments and your bravery to come and do it. Seriously, I remember that's not an easy thing if you've never been up here before. I wanted to give just a little background. And by the way, this is way formal for me. Anybody in this room that knows me has probably never seen me in a suit. So I had a meeting before this that required a suit, and I came directly from there with this. But otherwise, Byron is dressed like Tingy would like to be dressed. So that's normally how it is. Levi's would have been the standard protocol. But our objective in creating that, the wall and the berm, was really is twofold, for the people that live on one side as well as the other. Ironically, my son lives on Carmen Drive. So my own family is directly in your same circumstances and lives on Carmen Drive. We've discussed it. We've talked about it. A lot of it is to create a buffer so you're not necessarily, if you're enjoying an evening on your back patio, you're not necessarily watching the family that's having the what do they call those, the jumpy castles or whatever it might be, or their swing set that's out there, and you're going, I wish they just didn't have that yellow swing set that I had to look at every time. And so it's created to give a continuity of form for Harmony, which is a very common element within the Harmony subdivision. Berming is Byron's specialty. Landscaping is Byron's specialty, and Eric has been, over the years, has been a great tool within that to teach us about landscaping. We put a lot of effort in making sure the landscaping was compatible with the rest of Harmony, and to create that buffer for both people on both sides. And one of the things why I've tried to reach out to Joy before we did after our meeting, because I watched the transcript of our neighborhood meeting. I did that a couple of days ago. I watched the whole transcript of the neighborhood meeting that's on file with the town, and I happen to have it on my computer. We talked about this, and there was some positive comments where people were appreciative of not looking into the backyard and having something to buffer it, because the homes are all significantly, they're significantly taller than the berms and the fence. The homes, the back of the homes, if it's a 2-story home, you'll still see a significant part of the home. So if you did no landscaping or no fencing, the homes themselves would create a much larger and omnipresent blockage of view than the landscaping. So I hope that helps. I'm sensitive to my son living in a community like you are. And yes, the homes are, this is not a secondary subdivision by any means. The homes are very beautiful and valuable. And my own son is on Carmen, and I paid attention to that as well. But anytime after, even after the meeting or any other time you have questions, we're wide open to discuss any of that with you. But I wanted to bring that before council and help clarify that a little bit in the efforts that went forth. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Commissioners, what's questions, comments for Ken? I've got several, but I wanted to hear what everybody else might. Lisa, you. Marty.
Just a question, when we talked about this, what was it, April? What was, it was 27 then as well, or was it 28?
It was 28 then.
Okay, okay. I couldn't remember on that. Just a comment for me that it seems like the berm, the fence on top of the berm is a little bit much. I get the idea of the house being above it and everything, but, I don't know if it's in the purview of what we approve here, but it just, the perception isn't real comfortable for me, but.
The fence and the berm was also part of the preliminary plat.
Yeah,
This
no,
isn't a new
it
piece
just-
to it.
You'd have to read pretty deeply into
Yeah.
200 pages to get to that detail.
Yeah, it meets code from staff point, standpoint, it meets all that,
Yep.
so.
Meets the code, it's just a little bit out of place.
Kevin, I apologize. I wasn't part of the club in April, so I missed the initial discussion.
No worries.
Can you help me understand a little bit what the code actually says? Is a berm or a fence in any way required here? Is it something that the city imposes by the code, or that's something that the developer is choosing?
That is something that the developer is choosing. It's nothing that we required as staff. It's not a requirement that they do either from that standpoint.
Okay. And then does the code speak in any way to how tall the berm or the fence can be? Are there limitations?
It does for the fencing. 6-foot fence is the permitted, which they are doing. The material of a masonry wall is also permitted that they're doing. I would defer to Don and engineering for the berm. That would be more on their side. But as long as the berming meets grading and drainage requirements, then I don't believe there is a requirement from engineering side on a specific height.
No, there is not. And it's, like they pointed out, it's consistent with the bermings farther to the south and been intended to berm all the way north from from 14, 15 years ago.
The 2006 plan actually had about a 7 to 8 foot berm as well with that original plan.
Okay. And then the fence itself is by code capped at 6 foot. I know they talked a little about 6 to 8 foot with the intent being 6 foot, but does the code cap it at 6?
The fence will be 6. The columns to which are required to by code to give the visual separation, that cap, they're proposing that it be about 6 inches. That would still be permitted.
Thank you.
Anything else, Robert? No.
Sorry, one quick question, probably for you. Which side of the road is Thornton project going
You mean the Thornton water line?
on? Yeah.
I think it's going to be on the west side. I don't really remember right now. It's in Latham Parkway for sure.
Okay.
And it jogs from one side of the street to the other in different
Okay.
places.
I'm assuming that doesn't.
It's within the
Within the
town
right of
right
way.
of way. So
Okay.
Per our agreement with Thornton, we have an IGA with Thornton, and the reason why we do have an agreement with Thornton is so that they locate their utility in the right of way. So it's not adding on to the outside of the right. I do also want to add, there are in the code, back to what Robert was saying, is there are sections of the code which actually speak to arterial roads and major roadways and screening and buffering from adjacent development to those. So this type of thing is much in keeping with the code as far as additional landscaping and setbacks and those types of things. This is above and beyond what the code says, but it is also in keeping with that intent to provide screening and buffering from a busy roadway.
Okay, so if I may just clarify that there are requirements that something be there. So it,
Typically, it's a setback that's landscaped is what the requirement is. They, as Matt mentioned, they're going above and beyond with the berming and the 6 foot wall is what they're doing additional. They're meeting the lower intent of the at least 30-foot setback from in arterials with landscaping. They're just going above and beyond at their own discretion. Thank you.
Lisa?
So I was wondering if you can bring up the picture that shows the the wall and, or the, with the berming that is an example of what has been done previously? Is that last picture? So my first question is, why does this berming and wall combination not extend further on the south on the development? Is it because are the houses further away as it circles around? Or is that not even been built? I don't recall. I ride my bike up there all the time, but I don't remember.
I will answer the first part of that. There is berming in this height all the way down to the Harmony and Latham intersection. So the berming is of this height. The berming at Latham and Harmony might be even a little bit higher than about 7 feet. It might be about that or even just slightly higher. So the berming is through, but I will let Ken kind of answer for the masonry wall.
You're correct, Kevin. The berming south of this subject property is actually taller than what we're doing adjacent to our property. It's probably in that 8 to 10 foot. And as I mentioned, the berm that we're tying into actually, as you go a little bit further south and away from and off of this property, it's as high as 12 feet above Latham Parkway. So the intent here is just to have the wall adjacent to this proposed development, and it does not extend. I think there was a question in one of the emails, does it extend along Bus Grove? And it does not. So I want to clarify that. And that's because the setbacks on Bus Grove were sufficient to make those berms even taller than what we have along Latham Parkway. Does that answer your question?
I think I can answer to the house, Lisa's point. The houses to the south are much farther
They're
to
further
the
back.
west.
Oh, yes.
Because
they're on the other
because
side of
the
the
golf
golf
course
course.
fairway veers over
And there's
towards
no
the west.
plans to put houses to the east of the golf course further south of this.
Right. So as you go south, those homes are on the west side of the third and fourth fairways of the golf course. So they're probably a quarter mile from Latham Parkway.
So does this wall then extend back to that where you had right there? Nope. Does this wall extend all the way from the south to like where it says 8 to 10 foot high landscape? Then does it go all the way to the corner, all the way north?
Yes, so maybe perhaps Kevin could help me out here. If you could point to the the northernmost corner and the southernmost corner with your little hand there. That is the extent of the wall.
The whole length of it?
Yes.
Okay.
And it does not again go across Latham Parkway. I mean, it's Bus Grove, excuse me.
Right.
And I think you can see the homes in the original second filing get a little bit closer than a quarter mile, but then as you go further to the south, the homes are on the actual west side of the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably 1,000 feet off of the road.
Has your berming already been done for this?
No, it has not. It ends where we're tying in, where it says 8 to 10 feet on that southernmost corner. If you look just a little bit further south, there's a large existing portion of the berm, which is just opposite the fourth hole of the golf course.
Okay. So if you're sitting in, say, if you're looking right exactly where that 280 square, the feet, that red line is, if you're in that house
Yes.
over across the way and you're looking across there, because like you said, Latham is lower and the houses are a little higher, with this existing berm and your fence, what is that person in their backyard going to see? Are they going to see a fence and then they're going to see rooftops?
Yeah.
Or do you even know what that is going to be?
No,
yet?
actually, first let me clarify something. Latham Road is higher, not
Okay.
lower,
Right.
than the property, than the road that is within our subdivision, the cul-de-sac, is Tallgrass Court. Those homes on the east side of Tallgrass Court are actually lower than Latham Parkway, slightly lower, a couple of feet lower. So that's why the berm on the west side for the residents of Harmony Second will look to be approximately 10 feet tall As far as what will be seen, again, we're about 260 or 80 feet from the nearest rear property line to the fence itself. And so you'll see this grassy berm and landscaping on the front side, on the east side of the wall as well as the west side. And you'll see a 6-foot-high masonry wall. At 360 to 80 feet away, it's going to look fairly small in perspective. And you will not be looking, the residents along the west side of the ridge at Harmony Road will not be looking into the private backyards of these homes. And these homes will not be, looking to Latham Parkway. And again, remember, Latham Parkway is intended to be a 4-lane arterial in the future, I believe. And so Latham will be a significant roadway. So we're trying to buffer the homes within this development from that arterial roadway, both acoustically and visually.
No, I'm sorry, you are, unfortunately, as I said, once we close public comment. Yeah, thanks. We do have a picture. Commissioner's been provided with a similar picture by Joy Klein. Lisa, anything else?
Ms. Bard, did that answer your question sufficiently?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just hang on a second. Let me see if she has.
I don't think so.
Okay, Tom?
Just a comment. I think your last point was clear. This is intended to be a buffer between the road, which will be an arterial road in the future, and the houses. So that's really the intent of this wall, this berm, primarily. Is that right?
Well, I think it's really multifaceted. It is intended to be a buffer for the homes within the Harmony Second. We've moved the homes to the west, which provide increased buffer, allowed us to create a taller berm. We have significant landscaping. We have nearly 50 trees along Latham Drive, as opposed to the 25 trees that are on the east side of the road. We're really trying to buffer this, but it's really for the benefit of both subdivisions. I don't believe the residents of the Ridge at Harmony would want to look into the backyards of these homes because, they are closer than other homes along Latham Parkway. And we're trying to create this buffer, this acoustical and visual buffer for the homes within the Harmony Second subdivision. So it really does serve both purposes, truly does.
And without this berm, it would be a real eyesore. So not having this berm would be a bad thing.
It certainly would. I mean, without the berm and without the fencing, the wall, you'd be looking straight across, and the drivers going north and south on Latham would be able to look right into the rear yards. There would be very little privacy in an area that is intended to be private. And likewise, it creates a private situation, some privacy situations for the development to the east, because the folks in Harmony aren't looking into the backyards of their, nearest adjacent neighbors. So I think it really is a benefit to all parties.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa has another question, I believe.
So when you're talking about the trees, remind us again, what are the types and kinds of trees that you're planting? And are they going to be planted at the base of the berm, along the sides of the berm? Where are they going to be?
Well, that's a very good question. So we have a combination of deciduous, coniferous, and ornamental trees. So the deciduous trees will be things like hackberry. There'll be some maples, maybe catalpa tree. I don't remember exactly everything that we spec. The coniferous trees will be Austrian pine and blue spruce, and the ornamental trees will be hot-wing maple. I believe there are some crab apples proposed as well, and chokecherry. And they'll be planted fairly high on the slopes on both the east and west side, so as to create a further buffering visual buffer from both the east and the west. And the streetscape is compliant with the city's requirement of the number of trees per lineal foot of frontage. And that's actually why we actually, between preliminary, which you saw in April, and this plan, we've gone ahead and at the request of the city have added approximately 26 additional trees along those streetscapes in order to comply with the city standard.
What caliber of trees, size, obviously, it's caliber, are you planting?
What size?
Mhm.
Well, we'll meet the city's minimum standard. You know, it's always better, as a landscape architect, it's always better to plant smaller trees because smaller trees will turn into bigger trees, faster than bigger trees that are planted turn into bigger trees. So the deciduous shade trees will likely be 2 to 2.5 inch caliber. We have a couple of different types. And the coniferous trees will be at least 8 foot in height. And certainly if you've been out to Harmony, you'll notice that Byron and Mark are really aficionados as it relates to landscape. And they tend to plant things far in excess in size, in caliper size and height than the city's minimum. So that there's a more immediate presence of that landscaping. And I'm sure that's what will occur here, both along Latham Parkway and Bus Grove.
Because with that many trees along that route, at that height, they will far exceed the berm and the wall over the fairly.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they will. They will, absolutely.
Commissioners, anything else? I've got a couple things. Okay. As my colleagues, particularly those who've been along a while, here a while know, and staff knows, I'm not unsympathetic to things like this, despite the fact I'm well aware that when one moves into northern Colorado and there's an open piece of land adjacent to their property, it's inevitable that something is going to be built there. So become very much aware of that. I can certainly relate to your situation. We moved initially out here 98 into Fort Collins, and we had a real swell view of the mountains to the west until the house next to us was built, and that view went away. And we moved out to Timnath, and we also had a very nice view of the mountains until the houses on the ridge across from us were built. But we knew that was going to happen because it was open space. So as soon as we got these emails this morning, I rode my bike out there. First I went out onto Carmen Drive, and although some of the houses are separated with white fencing from the others, so I couldn't see between them, but a couple of them were open. So I was trying to get a view from there initially of what this would look like. And then I rode back out onto Latham Parkway. And I was trying to remember my geometry. I was using this tree in this photograph as a reference point. I was trying to remember that isosceles triangle thing that, to get a sense of where the height of this. And again, this is not perfect, but I'm not certain, particularly the farther north you go, which I believe is closer to your property to the north, the farther north you go, because there's a lower point, the closer you get to Bus Grove, where this is going to go. I'm not certain that any of you is going to be blocked by this berm and wall. Again, that's not perfect science. I do know that it looks to me like the roofs of the houses are going to be higher than the berm and the wall, certainly, and you wouldn't expect anything less than that because the people that are going to live there are not going to necessarily want their to be entirely walled in, if you will. So I'm not certain that this viewscape is going to go away completely, but it was inevitable that something was going to be built there. So I'm not unsympathetic to that, but certainly I can't find any grounds for denying this proposal, this component of the proposal, or even asking for any kind of condition to this. So commissioners, anything else, any comments on what I said or anything further for Ken or the staff? Okay. With that, I need a motion on business item 6A, Harmony Subdivision, second filing, first amended final plat.
So moved.
Is that a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Reports. Commissioners, I have one item. Anybody have anything else? Staff, I just have a question. Lest our newest members, Christy, Robert, and Tom are still part of the witness protection program here. Any chance we can get their photos up onto the website? I know the photographs were taken. Okay.
We're not. We'll get hopefully something soon.
Okay. Thanks. I just noticed that today when I was looking at this information. Commissioners, anything else? Staff, anything on behalf of Town Manager Adams?
No, we have our 4th of July event happening again this year. It'll be a little bit more robust, but not as robust as it was in the past. It'll be just a drive-in style if you hadn't heard about that, but you can drive over there in the evening and there's a band that will be playing and watch from your cars and then leave a little bit later.
Thanks. Don, anything?
I think the only thing of pertinence at the moment is we're in full-blown construction of Busgrove, as most of you probably know. You'll see a lot of activity over the next week and paving starting at the end of the following week, with the western end to be all completed before 4th of July.
Which phase goes next, towards the east then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, from Biden's Gate east.
Okay. How long is that estimated to take, weather permitting?
Another at least 2 months.
Anything else?
Just out of curiosity, if they
No, not as of over the weekend.
I suspect the last time I checked on that, it's a month off. Yeah, they're taking their time on that one.
Anything else? Kevin? Is anybody not going to be here if we have a meeting that week? You don't, okay. Okay. You haven't been told, okay. Very good.
anything's possible.
All right, anything else? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all.